Hi, my name is Marion and today I'm very happy to see you for a sewing tutorial. This video is made in collaboration with Miyako. It's a brand of leather straps for handbags and they made kits to have everything you need to make a bag. Today we're going to focus on the NOYA bag, which I made here. So this is the bag we're going to be making today with the lining, which is so pretty. You have the bag itself, nuts on the side to put the strap on, and then a little clasp here. What's really cool about Miyako is that the straps come in several sizes, so with the same bag you can just undo the nuts here and change the strap. So here is a large one, it's 49 inches long, and this is a 31.5 inches long. So I can wear it on the shoulder, and if I change it to this one, I can wear it across. As usual, I will put all necessary information in the description box. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get to work. So the kit is composed of the straps. This is the black one that is long, and I have a cream one which is shorter. Then you have the paper tutorial. Then you have the fabric and the accessories. This is the fusing fleece. One side of it is kind of gummy. And then you have the fabric for the nuts, for the lining, which is the same, and for the outside. And that's the clasp. We'll start with the half nuts. You have a pattern on the paper tutorial, so in order not to destroy the tutorial, I just transferred it to another paper and cut it. And then you have to cut it 4 times in this piece of fabric. So you can fold it in 2, pay attention to the alignment, then fold it again and put the paper pattern on top of it using little clips. It's very handy so that it doesn't move. And then you can cut the tip of the pattern in the fabric. Remove the clips, then unfold everything and do the same way again in the middle of those two. You can use a ruler that's kind of like a set square to make sure your line is a 90-degree angle from the bottom line. I traced, this is a removable pen, and then I clipped again, I clipped the fabric again together and cut the 2 layers at the same time. And then remove the clips again, and there's just one left to be cut because the other 2 are already separated. I put one the wrong side up on the other 2, clipped again, and cut the last piece. And I have my 4 half nuts, and now we're going to actually sew it. So to do that, you have to fold it in 2 lengthwise, and then you stitch it 1/2 inch away from the edge, starting and ending with a back stitch, of course. Once it's done, you can cut the extra fabric at the tip, and then we're going to notch the rounded side, making small triangles like that with your scissors. Be careful not to cut the stitch, of course, and you can do 3 or 4 of those. And then it's ready to be turned around. If, like me, you find this a little painful, you can use tweezers that you put inside of the tube, and it helps you get the fabric out, and it's much easier. For the tip, just jiggle it like that, and then press it, and then you fold it inside about 1/2 inch and press it to make sure your line is straight, and then you can stitch it about 1/8 from the edge just to make sure it's closed. Once all 4 are ready, you can put them aside for now. Then we're going to make the body of the bag. So you take the outside fabric and the fusing fleece, put the gummy side of the fleece to the wrong side of the fabric, if your fabric has a wrong side, mine doesn't, but that's all right, and use your iron to press it. Put your iron down and then lift it up, put the iron next to it, etc., until both layers are really stuck to each other. Then we're going to place our half nuts on the outside fabric, 2 inches from the top and 1 inch from the side. So make sure you measure it, and once they're in place, you can pin them to make sure they don't move when you go to the sewing machine. And then you turn the fabric around and you do the same thing on the other side. You sew them 2/8 of an inch away from the edge, and then they're attached. Before going to the next step, I advise you to cut the fusing fleece, if you can see it as it was on mine, to make sure the edges are flush. Then fold the outside layer in two. Just make sure the knots are aligned. You can pin it if you want to make sure it's not going to move. And then we're going to trace a rectangle 2.5 inches away from the edge and 2 inches from the fold. And this needs to go away, so you can cut it away. Just move the pin to make sure you don't damage your scissors, but cut away this rectangle. And now you're going to sew the sides, so just make a seam 1/2 inch away from the edge on both sides. Then remove the pins and sew the corners. Just make sure you align the two edges and make a seam. You can flatten the seam allowance here so that the thickness is taken away, and make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Then for the lining, everything is exactly the same, so repeat all the same steps, and then you'll just press the seam open on the side and at the bottom, but before you do that, you need to cut the corners here, as I will show you. Don't cut the stitch, obviously, and then press it open. And then you press 1/2 inch all around the top edge of your lining, and you do exactly the same steps for the outside. The most important one being the top edge. Here you have it. Then it's time to turn the outside fabric to the right side, which is quite satisfying because it's the first time you're going to get to see your finished bag almost. And then inside of this, you're going to put your lining. So our folds need to be right sides together. Then make sure the seams are aligned, like the lining and the outside fabric seams are aligned, and pin it in place. Here I used a clip because it's a bit thick. Do the same thing for the other side, and then pin it to make sure it doesn't move when you go to the machine. Then you're going to sew them together 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So when you go to your machine, just make sure you can kind of see the lining fabric, because if it goes too much back, you won't be able to sew it together. So that's the trick. You need to make sure that you sew everything together. So here my line is quite straight. I was quite happy about that. And then I checked, you see, if the lining fabric was taken in the seam all around, and it was. It's less straight than on the right side, but at least the fabric is in the seam. Then I tried to put the strap, and that was quite nice. And then you do the clasp. So here you need to make a small hole in the middle of the fabric, about 1 inch or 1.5 inches away from the top. So here I found the middle of the fabric, putting the seams together. Here I get the middle. And then I measured 1.5 inches, made a little mark with my erasable marker. And then I used the leather clamps, I don't know how you call them, but to make a small hole. And it didn't really work the first time, so I had to use my scissors to improve on the hole. And then I took the small accessories. So you have to put the felt circle and the screw inside. Make sure you can see it from the outside. Then you put the leather strap, and then you screw the top part, which is flat, on top. And then you can screw the inside. I didn't have a screwdriver on hand, so I used my ruler, which worked. And then on the other side, instead of measuring it, I just used my clasp to make sure it was, facing it. And then I measured 1.5 inches again and made a little mark with my pen. I used my clamp again, and it worked better this time. Then I put the screwdriver and the felt circle inside, and then the little thing to close it outside. Ruler again, and then I used little scissors to remove all the little threads that I could see. Then I tried the clasp, could have done that before, and it worked perfectly, so I was happy. And I decided to change for the black strap because I like my handbags to be longer. And there you have it. Congratulations, now you have your bag. I hope you like it and wear it a lot. And I'll see you in our next video. Bye!